Hare Krishna. So I wanted to say a few things about Vrindavan to conclude the Vrindavan pastimes of Krishna. I mentioned the three predominating mellows of Vrindavan are, who remembers what are the three predominating mellows of Vrindavan? Okay, many voices I can hear, but I want to see some hands. Okay, very good. So Radharani's hand came up first. So Radharani, what are the three predominating mellows of Vrindavan? Friendship, parental and conjugal are the three predominating and unique mellows of Vrindavan, because they are not there anywhere else in the spiritual world. And in discussing about Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes, last couple of days we discussed about Krishna's friendship, mellow friendship, sakhiras. Remember how Krishna deals with his friends? We also discussed yesterday how Krishna deals with his parents, or how Krishna's parents deal with Krishna. And so, what we are left with now? Did we cover everything? Which one is left? We are left with the mellow of conjugal mellow. The conjugal. Conjugal mellow has two aspects. There are two types of conjugal mellow. Swakya. Swakya means one's own. And Parakiya means belonging to somebody else. So when one has a relationship with one's wife, that is, wife is the husband's property, or you can say it's a socially approved relationship. So the conjugal relationship between husband and wife is that of Swakya relationship. And Parakiya, like, here is a feeling that the girl is not married, or even married to someone else. And the relationship between that woman and the hero or man is considered to be Parakiya. Now this Parakiya relationship is considered to be unethical or immoral in the material plane. Right? Like, if somebody has a relationship with somebody else's wife, is it approved in the social norm? No. It is inappropriate. It is considered to be abominable. Now mind you one thing, that in this material nature is a reflection of the spiritual world. Right? Now when you see the reflection, how do you see the reflection? Say you are seeing the reflection of a tree. What appears to be at the bottom of the reflection? The top of the tree. So similarly, what is the topmost relationship in the spiritual world, in the reflected reality of this material nature, that is considered to be the most undesirable or immoral relationship. The topmost relationship in the spiritual sky, when it is reflected, it is the lowermost thing in this world. Now, what is the difference between material and spiritual? We have discussed that many times. When Krishna is the center, that is spiritual. When we are the center, that is material. So in relationship also, When the relationship is with Krishna, that is spiritual. When the relationships are with us, that is material. Our relationships are material, but any relationship that is with Krishna, that is spiritual. Now, in the material, we can very easily understand that consideration, shakiya, belonging to somebody else. Now, when you consider belonging to somebody else, now can that concept apply to Krishna? Because everything belongs to Krishna, everybody belongs to Krishna. So for Krishna, there is no consideration of Parakiya in that sense. Enjoying somebody or having an affair with somebody else's wife. Like in the spiritual context, it is just a pastimes. It's an arrangement in such a way. And another consideration here is, we have to consider that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur wrote a line in a poetry, 2 lines, describing Kaminir Kam Nohe Tabo Dham Tahar Malik Kebal Jadav. That relationship with a woman is not for you. Because the proprietor of all women is Krishna. So in the spiritual sky, that is the thing. In the material nature, the living entities are getting an opportunity to act in a certain way. In the material nature, the living entities are trying to become Krishna. Therefore, they are imitating Krishna's activities. They want to become the supreme controller. Everybody wants to become supreme proprietor, right? Whether he can become or not, that's another thing. And the point is, in the material nature, these relationships are there, a relationship between man and a woman. But in the spiritual world, that man-woman relationship is only with Krishna, no one else. Because they also belong to Krishna. And that feeling that, this gopi is married to some other person, some other gopa, is just an illusory concept. They think that they are married, just in order to make that love affair more exciting. This is another point. In loving relationship, when there is impediment, when there is obstacle, then the intensity becomes more. The love becomes more intensified. So that is why in the spiritual world these arrangements are there, as if this gopis or Srimati Radharani is married to somebody, and Radharani's mother-in-law is trying to stop Radharani from meeting Krishna. Radharani's sister-in-law is trying to stop Krishna meeting Krishna. Radharani meeting Krishna. Or chastising, what is this? What kind of relationship you have with him? And this kind of, but it is actually to make the excitement in that loving exchange. So the point is that this Parakiya mellow in the spiritual sky is simply in order to intensify their loving relationship. And anyway, and that is how in Parakiya bhave jaha brojete prachar. In Vrindavan, this relationship between Krishna and gopis have become manifest in Golok Vrindavan, in Braja. And that is the most important central factor of Vrindavan. Everything else is centered around that. The pivot, the hub of all relationships in Vrindavan is centered around Radha Krishna's relationship, conjugal relationship. And one thing is, we have to be very, very careful. That's why Radha Krishna's pastimes are kept as a secret. That is because one should never try to imitate Krishna's activities with the gopis. That is the highest spiritual relationship, and it should never be imitated. Srimad Bhagavatam has given the example that just like you cannot imitate Lord Shiva drinking poison. Can anybody imitate Lord Shiva and drink poison? Then what will happen? He'll be dead. Similarly, Krishna's pastimes with the gopis should never be imitated. And one thing we must remember also, that what is the basic criteria for entering into the spiritual world? It's a very simple consideration. In order to enter into spiritual world, in order to become free from material bondage, one has to become free from sex desire. One cannot enter into the spiritual sky as long as he has sex desire. To enter into the spiritual world, everybody has to overcome that, or in simple words, one can say that everybody has to be a brahmachari. Which means there is no room for sex desire in the spiritual world. Now, when there is no room for sex desire in the spiritual world, how can there be anything in Vrindavan which may apparently appear to be a sexual relationship? We have to understand that that is another world altogether, and we cannot even imagine, we cannot even understand what that world is like until and unless we go there and see ourselves. But one thing is for sure, that in order to enter into spiritual sky, one has to be free from sex desire. Like this material nature has been described as a prison house of sex desire. Maithunagar. Agar means a prison. And Maithun means sex desire. So this is a prison house of sex desire. So in the prison house, people are tied down with a chain. In this material world of prison house, how everyone is tied down here? It's a very simple consideration, isn't it? Everyone is tied down to this material nature with sex desire. So to free oneself from the bondage of this material nature, it's very clear that one has to become free from sex desire. And what does Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan do? When we approach Radha Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, then you know what is the result? Complete elimination of sex desire, complete destruction of sex desire from the heart. That is what these pastimes of Krishna do in Vrindavan, if we approach them properly. But inappropriate approach will make one fall down to these undesirable activities. So that's why Srimad Bhagavatam so beautifully is presenting this Krishna's pastimes, and Srila Prabhupada so systematically presented it. Prabhupada's presentation is first Bhagavad Gita. Why Bhagavad Gita at first? Why Bhagavad Gita first? Because through Bhagavad Gita we get to know who Krishna is. Through Bhagavad Gita we get to know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then we come to Srimad Bhagavatam. Then you get more elaborate understanding of Krishna, step by step. First canto, second canto, third canto, and so forth. Then finally we come to 10th canto, where we get to see Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The first two cantos are Krishna's feet, lotus feet. Third and fourth cantos are Krishna's thighs. Fifth canto is Krishna's abdomen. Sixth canto is Krishna's chest. Seventh and eighth cantos are Krishna's two arms. Ninth canto is Krishna's neck. And the 10th canto is Krishna's smiling lotus face. Now how do you see the person and recognize the person? When you see a person, from his face you recognize that he is he. So similarly, in 10th canto we get to know Krishna is, and in 10th canto gradually it is coming to the Rasa Panchadhyayi, 29 to 32nd chapter, is describing Krishna's Rasa dance. Krishna's very, very unique, very wonderful, loving relationship with the gopis. And if we approach Srimad Bhagavatam properly, then what will happen? The heart will become free from sexual life. From the Vedas, from our scriptures, we get to know this act of copulation or sexual relationship is only meant for procreation. It is only for procreation, not for sense gratification. It's a very, very painful experience for both the man and woman to go through that. But in order to induce them into that act, Brahma has added or introduced a little sense pleasure, so that people will become attracted to that act and the procreation will take place. But today what is happening? No consideration of procreation, just sex for the sake of sense gratification. And it is not desirable. Rather, one must learn how to conquer that desire. And that is the sign of pure spiritual advancement. Anyway, so I didn't have much time to discuss about Krishna's Parakiya mellows, Parakiya relationship with the gopis of Vrindavan. But I just wanted to point out that how that is the highest spiritual understanding, and that is the goal that everybody is aspiring for while they are aspiring to go to Vrindavan. Jayo Jayo Jalo Rasho Shargo Rasho Shar Parakiya Bhave Jaha Brujete Prachar. All glory, all glory, all glory to the most brilliant and most exalted loving relationship which is manifest in Vrindavan as Parakiya relationship. So thank you all very much.